What's up, guys? What's up? So, I'm going to do a video. We're going to check out Psalms 83, which is a prophecy of a war. And I think that's the next war that would happen. We'll go through Ezekiel 38, which I think would be a war, which is the Gog and Magog war that will happen, in my opinion, along the timeline would be after the millennial kingdom, because that seems to be what Revelation 6 is saying, that the Gog and Magog war is after a 1,000-year reign of Christ here on earth. At least that's the way I interpret it. So I'm going to be making some statements that they're just intuitions. I'm not stating them as fact at all. When you're looking at end time eschatology, things that are going to happen in end time prophecy and things like that, you have to approach that with a lot of humility and open-mindedness. We don't want to be like the Jews that knew their Bible extremely well, but had such a rigid interpretation of it that when Christ came and arrived, they didn't recognize him. So I did a video about Trump, and what I was kind of musing about is that traditionally the four horsemen of the apocalypse, right? So traditionally the first horseman that comes in white, that's wearing a victor's crown, going bent on conquest, going out to conquer. Often that has been interpreted as the Antichrist coming on scene. After that, you're going to have the red horse that is people starting to kill each other, and a great sword. So it seems like a very big war that's going to occur. The black horse, and we'll go into the four horsemen in Revelation. We can read it through. The fourth one seems to be complete economic global collapse. And now you have famines, you have plagues, you have pestilences, and things like that. Something really interesting in the with the black horse riding in is that it talks about at the end that there's death by plagues and famines and things like that, and also from the wild beasts of the earth. And we're going to go and check Blue Letter Bible so that we can go see the original Greek word that's used there. And the biblical usage that's outlined there is very often actually wild animals, but the last one is a metaphorical for savage people. So ferocious, so the beasts of the earth that will be doing these killings are not necessarily wild animals, because I always thought that was weird, plagues, famine, all of a sudden I'm like, what is wild bears going to come out, and just start mauling people? Could be. It wouldn't be the craziest thing, right, in Revelation. But I'm thinking that it's more metaphorical for savage people, just savage, wicked, ungodly people. The four horsemen that ride in, the last one after the black is like this putrid, pale green horse that is like the sickly, pale greenish color of death and putrefying flesh kind of thing. With the green horse, it talks about death and Hades, death and the grave riding behind there. So are the four horsemen just a general overview of Revelation to say that will somebody on a white horse promising peace and safety, the way that traditional Christianity interprets that. And then after the war, the red, and then after the black, and then the green. Does this happen all before? And is this the turmoil that's going to cause people to seek out a ruler, a leader, because of all this? I don't think so. And like I said, I don't have a hard stance on that. I think those four horsemen just give a general overview of how things start. Conquer, war, pestilence, famine, and then death and Hades riding behind it. It kind of gives a general overview of all the death that's occurring. I don't know. I'm open to opinions on that. But the one thing that made me kind of change my opinion on, hey, like, why does the first horseman that rides in with a victor's crown, bent on conquest and to conquer, why does that have to be the Antichrist? I know tradition says that, and it could very well be right. When I was watching Trump, and I'm a fan of Trump. I'm a conservative. I have conservative values. I thought Trump did a good job on his first term, and I'm happy that Trump is back. He's making some very forceful, aggressive, bold moves, and I'm not saying that he's the Antichrist. What I'm starting to think is, what if the four horsemen are just saying how things start? That perhaps I'm thinking this was the impression that I got, and it was like, when the Holy Spirit gives you insight and it just smacks you in the forefront of your head, and you get like this epiphany or a strong insight. And any Christian knows when they get those messages, from the Holy Spirit. And it was one of those kind of impressions. I wasn't trying to figure out Revelation, and all of a sudden watching Trump, and I'm like, maybe he's the first the first horse. It was nothing like that. It was like insight. And the insight that I got was that Trump is the first horseman of the apocalypse. He rides in on a white horse, a landslide victory, wearing a victor's crown. He is bent on conquest. He wants the new golden age of America. But he does seem to be bent to conquer and bent on conquest as well. First of all, he truly is somebody wearing a victor's crown. The last 5 years, they weaponized the judicial system against him. They truly did, and just went after him, just trying to throw him in prison. And to be attacked like that from your opposition that's in power, the literal government coming after you, and complete and pew pew attempts, almost a second one, and yet he rises up above all those obstacles, and he's victorious, and he wins by a landslide, a historical landslide victory. So that was the first thing. But then it was, he seems bent on conquest. He's kind of like, okay, maybe that he wasn't serious, but he was like, yeah, maybe Canada should become the first 51st state. They're not really doing their job on the continent. You know what? Like Greenland, like we should take Greenland. We can do much more better things with Greenland over there. Panama over there, like we helped build Panama. How come China's taking advantage of that spot? We're taking it back. If Panama's going to let China get it, we're getting it. So, and I'm not saying that any of that is bad. But what I am saying is perhaps the first horseman comes in, and because of such bold moves, especially now, I did the first video about this, and this was before Trump saying, oh yeah, free Palestine. Okay, I'll buy it for free. Basically, that's what he's saying. So we do have to realize that all the nations have archons, have spirit beings, have rulers over them. Okay, and that's why Israel was supposed to be God's portion. He was supposed to be the spirit being overseeing Israel, but he got frustrated, and when he scattered everybody at Babel, he put angels basically over the other nations. Now they were still supposed to minister and do God's will, but they ended up falling, they ended up rebelling, and they ended up being worshipped. And these are all of the pagan religions and all of the demigods and everything that you see in antiquity. I, as a Christian, don't say, well, that's mythology and the Bible's true. I think that to a large extent, all of those other mythologies, Greek mythology included, um, perhaps now there's some mythology added, but there is large amount of truth to these things. The last time, the golden age is always referred to when the fallen angels came down on earth. That was considered a golden age, but it wasn't a golden age of man. It was the golden age of the gods, basically. Let's just go say hello. And again, this is just me throwing out ideas. This ain't the gospel truth. When it comes to prophecy, I'm just like a watchman on the tower, kind of looking at what's happening around, and trying to look at current events through a biblical lens, basically. And I'm definitely not a teacher of prophecy. I'm very much still a student, and like not even high school student when it comes to this. A lot more for me to learn. So I'm just sharing stuff, throwing out ideas, and I'm open to your opinions as well. Hey, Darla. Hey, Tim. Thanks for showing up. Jesus is our hope. God bless to that. Trump said he wants to be a peacemaker. So what I'm saying is that Trump has the best intentions for America, and I don't think that his intentions are evil. But what I'm saying is that with the force that he's doing that, and he's shaking the Middle East, I don't think that the Muslim nations will just allow him to come in and take over the Gaza Strip. That's not going to happen, because these nations that surround Israel are nations that are extremely hostile to the God of the Bible. Now, I know that the Jews, the majority of the Jews, are actually in rebellion to their own Messiah. So I completely understand that. But there is a big difference between the doctrine of the Old Testament and the doctrine of the Quran, because unfortunately I've read the Quran, and the doctrine of the Quran, written 600 years after Jesus walked earth, makes claims like Jesus was never crucified, that he's not the Son of God, and their own doctrine, unfortunately, is quite hostile. So the reason that many Christians that don't believe in replacement theology are excited and have a place in their heart for Israel is that we know that God has brought Israel in unbelief back. Okay, they were dispersed into the nations 70 AD. Almost 2,000 years later, they came back. Okay, and that's because of God, and that gives glory to God, because He will fulfill His promises to Abraham, the land, the plot of land. We're going to get into how much more land was promised to Abraham than what Israel has here. And what I'm going to suggest is that the Psalm 83 prophecy war is just around the corner. And from here, the surrounding nations will attempt to take them out again, and they will lose massively, because God's hand is upon this prophecy, Psalm 83. And actually, Israel will actually succeed and gain more of the promised land territory. But I do think that the Ezekiel 38 prophecy is something that happens after the millennium. It seems like that's what it shows in a Revelation, and it makes sense, because for the Ezekiel 38 war to occur, they have to be dwelling in safety, unwalled and gates open kind of thing. And I don't see Israel with any unwalled or open gates, especially after October 7th. So we know that the Ezekiel 38 war is not around the corner. This is the one that talks about Gog and Magog, and that seems to be in the timeline after the millennial kingdom. So let's share screen here. All right, so the Psalms 83 war is a biblical prophecy that describes a future conflict where Israel's neighboring countries, including Edom, Ishmaelites, Moab, Hagarenes, Gerbal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, and Tyre, form an alliance to destroy Israel. While some believe this war has already occurred, others interpret it as a future event. Give me 1 second. I do just want to look for the live. I always kind of watch my live so I can see what the screen, what's happening on the screen in case I get booted or the connection fails and I'm talking forever without anybody listening. Sorry, guys, just give me a sec. Perfecto. All right. So I just want to get through this as quickly as possible. I don't want to spend 3 hours here. I already did a long stream yesterday or the day before. So I just want to get this out. So that's it. Okay. So those who think it's a past event often point to historical conflicts such as the Assyrian invasion or other battles mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. However, many scholars and theologians believe that the Psalm 83 war has yet to have occurred, as the specific circumstances detailed described in the prophecy have not been fully fulfilled. And as we know, the Bible doesn't accomplish prophecies vaguely, kind of like Nostradamus. It's very detailed. Some signs that could indicate that Psalm 83 war is imminent or underway include a unified attack on Israel by its neighboring countries, as described in Psalm 83, 6 and 8. Increased tensions and conflict in the region, particularly involving countries mentioned in this prophecy, and a significant shift in power, in the balance of power in the Middle East, potentially triggered by a major event or crisis. I think that Psalm 83 is just around the corner because we have all the tensions. We know that Israel was fighting pretty much a 5-front war. I mean, up in Turkey, they were hostile. You have Lebanon. All Hezbollah was on the bottom of Lebanon. Iran. We have a lot of in Yemen. We have Syria. Like this is all happening right now in the conflict. I know now there's like a temporary peace. Let's continue. So here are the modern. I did my best. I might be wrong with some of these, but with my research, here are the modern day countries and regions corresponding to the ancient places mentioned. So Edom, southern Jordan, the Ishmaelites, modern day Saudi Arabia, Moab, central Jordan, the Hagarites in western Saudi Arabia, Byblos, Lebanon, northwestern Jordan is Ammon. Amalek is the region in the Negev desert in southern Israel, and Philistia, right? That's what Palestinian means. It's in their language, Philistine. And the Philistines, we know David and Goliath. Goliath was a Nephilim. He was a descendant of the angel-human hybrids, and he had brothers. The Philistines were like 5 cities, and they were coastal, exactly where Gaza Strip is now. Tyre, okay, and there is a prophecy about the king of Tyre, and I think that prophecy about the king of Tyre, it could also be talking about the spiritual principality that rules over Tyre. And where is Tyre? It's in Turkey. Where are the 7 churches in Revelation? They were in Asia Minor, which is modern day Turkey. Where does John say the throne of Satan is? It's in Pergamum, which was in Turkey. It was actually the altar of Zeus. I'm going to mention a little bit more about that later. So I think that there's a reason why Revelation, John pointed out Turkey. Does Turkey have an important role to play when it comes to the Antichrist? Perhaps we will see. Because why I'm saying that is that the prophecy about the king of Tyre starts talking about the king of Tyre, the king of Turkey. But wait, is Tyre Turkey or Lebanon? I wrote it down. So yeah, it's Lebanon. Sorry about that. Over here. Anyways, let's continue. So Revelation 2:13. I know where you live, where Satan has his throne, yet you remain true to my name. You did not renounce your faith in me, not even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was put to death in your city where Satan lives. In Revelation 2:3, this verse is part of Jesus' message to the church of Pergamos, modern day Bergama in Turkey. Okay, so that's what I meant. So this is modern day Turkey, and I believe the king of Tyre is the king of Lebanon. I was mixing that up, sorry. In ancient times, Pergamos was a major city in Roman province of Asia, known for its impressive architecture, cultural achievements, and pagan temples. The city was home to several notable temples: the Temple of Zeus, one of the seven wonders of ancient world, the Temple of Dionysus, the Temple of Asclepius, and the Temple of Trajan. Some scholars believe that the throne of Satan refers to the altar of Zeus, which was built during the reign of Emperor Eumenes. And this is where it is in Germany, the Pergamum Museum. I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, Hitler did one of his speeches with a backdrop of this. And we see that Obama as well used this when he was president for one of his speeches as well. It's important to understand that, yes, we got to keep our eyes open for, the Antichrist, the false prophet, and things like that. But the beast is a system as well. And there are multiple kings. And that's why you don't necessarily even need, like a lot of people are pointing out, like, I still have my eye on Obama. I don't think that he's an Antichrist. I am heavily convinced after watching author Tim Cohen and Craig Bong as well came up with the same conclusions. And they were talking about King Charles when he was Prince Charles, making these claims in the 1990s. Now, yes, his name, Prince Charles of Wales, it adds up to 666. But there's tons of other things like the coat of arms, his heraldic achievement. It has, a lot of the imagery. It has one beast that has the body of a leopard, the feet of a bear, the head of a lion. So that could be the mouth of a lion, or like a lion. Also has a beast that kind of looks like a unicorn, but it also has kind of like hoofs of more of a goat. That's there, the little horn. That could be the symbol of little horn. Edward the Great has these 3 peacock feathers that flop over on the top like valves, which have a numerical value of 666. He was known as the Black Prince. There's Wales that adopted the red dragon on their flag. So you literally have on Prince Charles' heraldic achievement the phrase, "I, the Dark Prince, serve the red dragon." There's a chain around the little horn beast that goes around as well the red dragon. That's the restrainer. The Antichrist will come on scene when the restrainer is removed. Some people believe that's the Holy Spirit. Once the Christians are raptured, the Holy Spirit that dwells in them, that present leaves. And that's the restrainer that allows the Antichrist to come on scene. Again, throwing these things out. Ideas, not making statements of truth. The throne of Zeus, often referred to as the altar of Zeus, is a monumental structure located in Pergamum, Turkey. It was built to commemorate the victory of Pergamum kingdom over the Galatians and is considered a masterwork of Greek Hellenistic art. The altar is also known as the throne of Satan in biblical references, highlighting its historical and cultural significance. Today, it is housed in the Pergamum Museum in Berlin, Germany, and remains one of the greatest surviving monuments from antiquity. According to Psalm 83, the countries that form an alliance against Israel will ultimately be defeated. So we see that in Psalms 83, 9 to 18. This outcome is consistent with God's promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which includes the land of Israel as an eternal inheritance for the Jewish people. In fact, Ezekiel 36, 1 to 15, and other prophetic passages suggest that Israel will indeed expand its borders and regain control of the land promised to Abraham. This could potentially involve the reclamation of territories currently under Palestinian or Jordanian control, or even the expansion into areas now part of neighboring countries. The biblical description of the land promised to Abraham's descendants includes several ancient territories and peoples. Here's a breakdown of the modern day equivalent names. I did my best. I might be off on some of them. The Wadi of Egypt is eastern border of Egypt. The great river Euphrates. This river flows through modern day Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. The land of the Kenites. That's the Negev desert region of southern Israel. We also have the Kenizzites, modern day Hebron and the Western Bank. Cadmonites possibly inhabited the eastern Jordan Valley or parts of modern day Jordan. The Hittites, modern day Turkey. Parasites, modern day northern Western Bank, modern day Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, where the Raphites, the Raphaim. By the way, the majority of all these clans and tribes that were there during the conquest, where with Joshua and stuff like that, this is like where the spies were sent, and they came back and said that there were giants there, and that discouraged Israel. They lost faith in God and were too scared to go defeat them, and they wandered the desert because of their lack of faith. But Joshua went in and started the conquest. Now, a big criticism that people have often of Christianity, or at least they attack the Old Testament because it's a lot easier than the New Testament to attack. They'll often criticize and say, like, oh, look, God plays favorites, and look how ruthless he is with all of these other humans. But the problem is that if we don't understand Genesis 6 and we're not open-minded, at least to find cultural context with the first book of Enoch, not saying it's inspired and we need to get theology from it, but I think that the Nephilim and the understanding that indeed there was a rebellion in heaven and the fallen angels did transgress the borders between heaven and earth, descended here. And as you know, angels have physical bodies when they manifest here. We see that all throughout the Bible. So they can eat, they can be touched, and I guess they have the proper equipment to mate. So we can look over here, all right? This is kind of like the size of Israel right now, but the promised land goes so much higher, reaches up into Turkey, covers into Syria, Jordan, goes into the Sinai Peninsula. And we look, if you guys look at the histories, ever since Israel was brought back into the land, the wars that they've had, you cannot deny that God has brought those people back into the land in unbelief. There's two reasons. One, he will use the evil nations around to judge those Jews who claim that they're Jews but are not Jews and are of the synagogue of Satan. Those are the rebel Jews, and God brought them back into the land because during the apocalypse or during Armageddon, the great battle, those Jews will be judged by God through the evil nations. So they will die. But there is a remnant that in Revelation, I believe, because Revelation is highly symbolic, and the symbols point to a reality. And we often get confused between the symbol as the reality. Just give me a second. The 144,000, 12,000 from each tribe, all of that stuff, I think that is symbolically representing the reality in the Old Testament that God says once he brings them back into the land, there is a remnant, and that remnant will have God's spirit of grace and supplication that will be poured onto them. And the veil will be lifted, and they will cry out to the one who comes in the name of the Lord, and that's Jesus, who came in the name of his Father. And he says they won't see the face of the Savior, their own Messiah, until they cry out his name, and then he will come. And it says that God will pour a spirit of grace and supplication, and when they cry out to him, he'll come in the clouds of heaven that we see in Revelation, and they will mourn because they will see the one whom they've pierced. And that's not the church. And that's why the idea of replacement theology is a horrible doctrine from Satan. Because, first of all, it makes a lot of the Old Testament prophecies incomplete. And that means that the Bible isn't inspired if there's stuff that hasn't been completed. God will take people from every tribe, tongue, and nation, and that's including Israel. So there's a remnant in Israel as well. And there's always been Messianic Jews that believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and because of that, God basically still blesses them. Look, he was harsh with them. When they crucified the Messiah, they said, let the blood of Jesus be on our hands and on our ancestors' hands. And then God said, so be it. Usually, you don't. See, God does work with like individually, but he also does work with nations and stuff like that. So there's individual judgment that we experience in our own lifetime from, being naughty children of God, but there's also like national judgments and national blessings as well. So the modern geographical terms, the land promised to Abraham's descendants would roughly encompass all of Israel now, but the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, Jordan, into Lebanon, parts of Syria, parts of Turkey, and parts of Iraq. That's huge. And obviously the Muslim nations aren't going to be giving that to the Jews. That will be acquired most probably in the Psalms 83 war. So we were just talking about Jordan, Lebanon, Syria. So let's look over here. So we got little Israel here. It will be expanded into Syria, as well as Turkey. Expand over here towards Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and usually Jordan is somewhere along, it's just small. Yeah, so it's going to expand a lot more than where it is right now. And I just want to check one thing. Modern day. Okay. that's the end of this presentation here. So let's actually go to the verses. Just going to go and say hi to the gang. Tim Brown says, interesting concept. Well, he should take Panama. So like I'm saying, I like Trump. Trump is doing what's best. I have concern with his Christianity because the girl, Paula something, is pretty much a prosperity preacher. So, when Trump was asked, like, what's your favorite Bible passage? And he kind of like dodged the question, makes me wonder if he's read the Bible. But anyways, that being said, I think that Trump is really a patriotic person that loves his country. But I think that he might be the first horseman of the apocalypse that comes in with a victor's crown, riding on a white horse, meaning, he's the solution to everything. But that will actually have the opposite effect, because the evil nations that want to destroy Israel, if they think that the U.S. is literally going to move in, okay, and own the Gaza Strip, as Trump said, an ownership, okay, of it, there's no way that the principalities ruling over the nations surrounding Israel will ever allow that. So it's just common sense. Iran says that Israel is the little Satan and the U.S. is the big Satan. So do you think that any of the Muslim world will allow the Palestinians out there? And I agree with Trump. The place is just like full of bombs and explosives and just rubble and cement, and it's dangerous and stuff like that. But I just see this as a possible springboard into Psalms 83. So let's check Psalms 83 out, guys. Just make Jackie McDonald. Jason, have you ever heard the theory that the story of Jesus was based on a Greek play? And if so, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah, well, you actually heard a little bit of that during the Olympics. Okay, so people like Billy Carson and all these new agers and stuff like that, they like to say these kind of things, but it's not true. Similar thing was said in the Zeitgeist movie, which I really liked the Zeitgeist. And then they started saying like, oh, look, Jesus, this is the story, but look at all of these other gods, similar stuff. But when you actually do the research, it's not there. It's a downright lie. Okay, so no, there is no stories that match up even close to the gospel, that there is a triune God, and that that God comes down and dies for the people. Guys, you have to understand that Jesus accomplished 300 prophecies that were written in the Old Testament. Now, with the Dead Sea Scroll and the great Isaiah scroll, we have at least Isaiah, the suffering servant. We have many, many prophecies that Jesus fulfilled. And I've done already a video proving without a doubt, using AI and having a discussion with AI, trying to kind of have a third person opinion and remove a little bit of the bias. I mean, if Meta AI, if it does have a bias, it's certainly against the Bible. And it came up with a lot of admissions. The minute I said, what do academics agree about Jesus and his life? Historians, secular historians, and stuff like that. Jesus Christ and his life is a historical fact. We have the Shroud of Turin, which the Shroud of Turin Research Project shows that it's not a forgery. Recent wide-angle X-ray scattering has dated that to 2,000 years ago. It's an image on a shroud that's 2,000 years old with all of the burial markings, meaning in the Gospels, all of the wounds that are supposedly done on Jesus is apparent on this miracle of a shroud. So Christianity has prophecy. We know that the Old Testament was hundreds of years at least. It's thousands, but hundreds of years at least before Jesus. And we know that Jesus is a historical fact because there's extra biblical stuff. Okay, everyone talks about Josephus and Eusebius, but there's a lot more extra biblical evidence, the Romans as well. So don't play into this thing like as if like, oh yeah, Christianity is just like a fairy tale. No, it's rooted in history. It has historical fact. It has archaeological evidence, and the four Gospels are written in first century, so they are literally written within the lifetime by first eyewitnesses or people who spoke and interviewed first-hand witnesses like Luke and wrote it exactly in the same literary genre of biography. So don't believe it. This is just what New Agers say in their little echo chambers where they go to their New Age spiritual groups, and they just do these things to say like, oh yeah, Jesus is just a myth. It's all about, it's just an inner story about crucifying your ego, and then the death of your ego, and then you're reborn into enlightenment, and everybody's God inside. We just no, I don't buy that. If you are interested in seeing a very cool video that unfortunately didn't get that many views, unfortunately, I think it's worth checking this video out. Go to live. All right. This one, I converted Meta artificial intelligence to Christianity. It should have way more views than this. It is very, very good for people who want to know a bit of the facts and the probabilities that this could happen. It basically proves that the Bible is divinely inspired. And what's funny is that Meta AI actually admits it. He's like, yeah, it seems like it would be, and that's pretty hilarious to see an AI admitting that. All right. Brother Jason, I don't believe in a pre-trib rapture. We will have to endure until the end of. So I spoke about that. See, I don't have a hard position on the rapture. I feel the Bible does say that there's a rapture. I'm hoping that it's pre-trib and we get out of here as early as possible. But I am definitely preparing for persecution, and I'm preparing to die for the word of God if need be. There is one place in Revelation where I feel that it's the one where it says that the earth was harvested. Just give me 1 second here. And the earth was harvested. I saw this somewhere. beast. The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. So I feel at least by 13, 5, that we've been raptured. Can I just check one thing? Then the earth was harvested. Revelation. Revelation 14. There you go. I even marked it here. So that's 14, Rev 14. So Rev 14, let's check this passage out for the rapture. Again, this is what I think. I'm constantly reading and readjusting as I learn things. This was just recent. 14. Here we go, guys. All right. So this is what I think are the remnant of Israel. So like I said, Israel's regathered. There are the synagogue of Satan, the rebels. God's regathered them too, because he's going to use the evil nations, the beast nations that are going to attack. They will kill that group, but the remnant is protected. I believe they go out into the desert and are protected. So this is the remnant from Israel. That's the way I view it. Then let's read here. Then I saw another angel flying in midair, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth. So that's for all the people that keep on saying, what about the people that live in the jungle, that never get the gospel, all that kind of stuff. And don't forget, this is an apocalyptic literature. It is highly filled with images that point to a reality. So keep that in mind. But anyways, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who are on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. So at least every nation and tribe will hear the gospel. He said it in a loud voice, fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him, who made the heavens and the earth and the sea and the springs of water. Then a second angel followed and said, fallen is Babylon the Great. Harvesting the earth and trampling the... So I think that harvesting the earth is the rapture. So I believe that by 14:14 over here, that this is proving the rapture, and it can kind of give us an idea when and where it's happening. I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like the Son of Man, with a crown of gold on his head, and a sharp sickle, right, in his hand. Then another angel came out, and the temple came out of the temple and called in a loud voice to him who was seated on the cloud, take your sickle and reap, because the time to reap has come, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. So he who was seated on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. So there's the first harvest. You know how he gathers his wheat into the barn, but he also harvests all of the weeds to throw them into the fire like chaff, disintegrate, just burn them up. Another angel came out of the temple in heaven, and he too had a sharp sickle. Still another angel who had charge of the fire came from the altar and called in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle, "Take your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from the earth vine, because its grapes are ripe." The angel swung its sickle on the earth, gathered its grapes, and threw them into the great winepress of God's wrath. They were trampled in the winepress outside the city, and blood flowed out of the press, rising as high as the horses' bridles from the distance of 1,600 stadia. Okay, let's go through. I'm going to continue with the study now. Okay, so I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." And I looked up, and before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard a second creature come, and another horse came out, and a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a great sword. So this is what I'm saying here, is that I looked, and before me was a white horse. The rider held a bow, and he was given a crown. When you look at the word for this, it is more specifically not a royal crown, but a victor's crown, kind of like you would see in the Olympics. So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that this one here, guys, that we traditionally have always said with church tradition, that's the Antichrist coming on scene. What I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily say that in the scripture. It could be somebody coming on a white horse, basically a white horse, riding in on a white horse, the guy with all the solutions, to all the problems. He's given a victor's crown, a landslide victory, like I had mentioned, after 5 years of the judicial system being weaponized against him, bullets flying past his ears, he remained victorious. And now he's bent on conquering and conquest. This was the first video I had said that it's like he wants to conquer Greenland. He might be just joking and smack talking Canada about the 51st state, but it's kind of like, again, conquering and conquest. Then after he's talking about Panama Canal, now he's talking about owning the Gaza Strip. So what I'm saying is this could be the white horse that does such quick, like Trump is just day in and day. I can't even keep up with the moves he's making, and they're all good moves for Canada. And I think he has the best interest. But I think it might unsettle the powers and principalities of the air, and set off the second horseman, the red horse, which will set off the black one, which will lead to death and Hades as well. And I don't have to say that, he's Antichrist. But we do have to realize that part of the beast system is that there'll be 10 kings. The Antichrist will come out from among those kings. So this is the next war that I think is in prophecy and is going to happen. So, oh God, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear. Do not stand aloof, oh God. See how your enemies growl, how your foes rear their heads. With cunning, they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation, so that Israel's name is remembered no more. With one mind, they plot together. They form an allegiance against the tents of Edom, Ishmaelites, Moab, the Hagarites, the Baalos, Ammon. These are the modern day that we just went through in the presentation. Lebanon, Tyre, Assyria, modern day Syria, has joined them to reinforce lost descendants. Do to them as you did to Midian, as you did to Sisera and Jabin at the river, which is basically completely destroy them, right? And who perish and became like dung on the ground. Make their nobles like Oreb and Zeb, all their princes like Zeba and Zalmunna, who said, "Take us, let us take possession of the pasture lands of God. Make them like tumbleweed, my God, like chaff before the wind, as fire consumes the forest, or flame sets the mountains ablaze. So pursue them with your tempest and terrify them with your storm. Cover their faces with shame, Lord, so that they may seek your name. May they ever be ashamed and dismayed. May they perish in disgrace. Let them know that you, whose name is the Lord, that you alone are the most high over all the earth." So here is the Ezekiel 36 war. Okay. And this is the one here. "I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal." Right. And this is in the land of Magog. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this right now, but okay, we can. Let's do this one first, though. Revelation 6, not 6. Not that one either. Here, let me just show you this while I have it popped up. If you look at here, it says, "Hunger and with death and with the beast of the earth," okay, that they killed, was given. Here, let's start. "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, which chloros, so a pale green horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell," which is actually supposed to be Hades, the intermediate state, the grave, "followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth of the earth to kill, with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth." Now, the beasts of the earth can be animals. Sorry, Therion. The beast can be animals. An animal, a wild beast, a beast, or it's metaphorically a brutal, bestial man, savage and ferocious. And I think that we saw a glimpse of these Therions, these savage and ferocious bestial men, October 7th, that decided to jump the fence and slaughter 1,300 innocent civilians. It's an ancient hatred, because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against powers, rulers, principalities, evil in high places. There's a spiritual influence over nations that affect the population. Okay. I will just check Revelation 20. All right, so there's the 1,000 years that happens, right? It says, "When the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison." So what's happened is that now you have the great war in Megiddo, in Armageddon, and these are the evil nations, the beast system, and they get defeated. All right, so that's where you get the the false prophet and the Antichrist are thrown into the lake of fire, but Satan's put back into Tartarus, basically into the abyss. That's the way I'm seeing it. And then after 1,000 years, he is released, and his spiritual influence that pervades the air once more influences nations, and he deceives the nations. And they again come against, and that is after the millennial kingdom, after Jesus has come for already a millennium. So now you have Gog and Magog. So that's why I don't think the Ezekiel 38 war is anytime soon. It says, when the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison. Yes, you are beautiful. Yeah. You're so pretty.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're supposed to be helping cleaning up the bedroom. That's all.
Deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for battle. In numbers, they are like the sand of the seashore. They march across the breadth of the earth and surround the camp of God's people, the city he loves. But fire came down from heaven and devoured them. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They'll be tormented day and night forever and ever. Over here, notice that fire comes down from heaven to devour them. Ezekiel 38. Let's read Ezekiel 38. That's going to happen after the millennium, in my opinion. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face against Gog. I think Gog is another word for Satan. So Satan's released after 1,000, and he's Gog. Of the land of Magog, some think that Meshech and Tubal in the land of Magog is Russia. Could be, that Satan's released and he influences that whatever area that's currently Russia. Could be after a millennia. I don't know if there'll be completely different names of stuff, but the king of the north kind of will come and try and attack. But this is during an on-walled city. Israel's in safety. Israel's never dwelt in safety. So I really think that the only time that they'll dwell in safety is when Jesus Christ is here on the throne. And that's why when they come, they're silly, but it's not like Revelation, this long dragged out things. Like fire comes from heaven, devours them. That's it. And we can check. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief priest, prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army, your horses, your horsemen, fully armed, a great horde with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. Persia, Cush, and Put. You can look up those, what they are in modern Persia's Iran. All with shields and helmets. Also Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Tagarma from the far north. Get ready, be prepared, you and all your hordes gathered around you. I take command of them. After many days, you will be called to arms. In future years, you will invade a land that has recovered from war, whose people were gathered from many nations to the mountains of Israel, which had long been desolate. They have been brought out of the nations, and now all of them live in safety. We have a little bit of Israel returned to, a little bit of the Jews returned to Israel. But it seems like during the millennial kingdom, everybody's kind of perhaps nations, like all the original nations will all no longer be deceived, will all be worshiping God. And therefore, everybody returns to their ancestral nations as God wants them to, and all worshiping the Father, Son. They have been brought out from the nations, and now all of them live in safety. You and all your troops and your many nations with you will go up, advancing like a storm. You will be like a cloud covering the land. This is what the sovereign Lord says. On that day, thoughts will come into your mind, and you will devise an evil scheme. That's, you see what I mean? Why all of a sudden? It's because Satan's just been released, and all of a sudden now they're starting to devise evil in their minds because they're being deceived. You will say, I will invade a land of unwalled villages. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people, all of them living without walls and without gates and bars. Israel's never been in that situation. I will plunder and loot and turn my hand against the resettled ruins and the people gathered from the nations, rich in livestock and goods, living at the center of the land. Sheba, Dedan, and merchants of Tarshish and all her villages will say to you, have you come to plunder? Have you gathered your hoards to loot, to carry off silver and gold, to take away livestock as goods and seize with plunder? I'm just going to skip over towards the end here. Oh no, I may as well. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say to God, this is what the sovereign Lord says, in that day when my people Israel are living in safety, you will you not take notice? You will come from your place in the far north, you and many nations with you, all of them riding on horses, a great horde, a mighty army. You will advance against my people Israel like a cloud that covers the land in days to come. Gog, I will bring you against my people to so that the nations may know when we meet when I am proved holy through you before your eyes. This is what the sovereign Lord says. You are the one I spoke of in the former days by my servants, the prophets of Israel. At that time, they prophesied for years that I would bring you against them. This is what I will make in that day. When Gog attacks the land of Israel, my hot temper will be aroused, declares the Lord. In my zeal, and fiery wrath. Remember Revelation after the millennial kingdom? They try and do this, Gog and Magog, but then boom, just fire comes down. There's no more wasting time. In my zeal and fiery wrath, I declare that at that time there shall be a great earthquake in the land. The fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and the beasts of the field, every creature that moves along the ground, and the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. The mountains will be overturned, the cliffs will crumble, and every wall will fall to the ground. I will summon a sword against Gog on all my mountains, declares the sovereign Lord. Every man's sword will be against his brother. He'll create confusion in the army. They'll kill each other. They'll go crazy. I'll execute judgment on him with plagues and bloodshed. I'll pour down torrents of rain, hail, and burning sulfur on him and on his troops on the day, on the many nations, and on many nations with him. And so I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord. All right, I think we've gotten through pretty much everything. This is the prophecy of Tyre, which is the king of Lebanon, basically. The word of the Lord came to me, son of man, say to the ruler of Tyre, this is what the sovereign Lord says. In the pride of your heart, you say, I am a God. I sit on the throne of God in the heart of the seas, but you are a mere mortal and not a God, though you think you are as wise as a God. Are you wiser than Daniel? Is no secret hidden from you? But your wisdom and understanding, you have gained wealth for yourself and amassed gold and silver in your treasuries. By your great skill in trading, you have increased your wealth, and because of your wealth, your heart has grown proud. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you think you are wise as a God, I am going to bring foreigners against you, the most ruthless of nations. They will draw their swords against your beauty and wisdom and pierce your shining splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die a violent death in the heart of the seas. Will you then say, I am a God, in the presence of those who kill you? You will be but a mortal, not a god, in the hands of those who slay you. You will die the death of the uncircumcised at the hands of foreigners. Then after, look at how it turns into a prophecy against Satan. And I think that over here, possibly the king of Lebanon will go against as well. But listen to this. I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. The word of the Lord came to me. Don't forget, the word of the Lord is Jesus. So right here in this Old Testament prophecy, the word of the Lord came to him, to this prophet. Okay, so who is the word of the Lord? The word of the Lord is Jesus, and the word of the Lord was made flesh and dwelt among us. So again, you see the Trinity already apparent, because obviously you have Yahweh, you have the Father, and you also have the word of the Lord that comes directly. So in Aramaic, it's the Memra of the Lord. And John, in his books, is very, very big on the Logos in Greek, which is the Memra. So if you want to get a little bit of the perspective of John in Revelation, it's worth looking for cultural and time context to understand the mindset of 2,000 years ago. Would be actually to read the Targums. You're going to see the Memra of the Lord appears way more, and it's just not, it doesn't appear in the Masoretic text. Here it says, "The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, take up a lament concerning the king of Tyre, and say to him, this is what the sovereign Lord says. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden." What do you mean? Like a king in a king of Lebanon was in the Garden of Eden? See? And this, we know in prophecies, it always happens like that. It can start out David talking about himself, and then it just flows into the son of David prophecy about something messianic. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you. Your settings and mountings were made of mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, you were prepared. You were anointed as a guardian cherub. For so I ordained you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways. From the day you were created till wickedness was found in you, through your widespread trade, you were filled with violence and you sinned. So I drove you into disgrace from the mount of God, and I expelled you, guardian cherub. Sorry. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth, and I made a spectacle of you before kings. By your many sins and dishonest trade, you have desecrated your sanctuaries. So I made fire come out from you, and it consumed you, and it reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. All the nations who knew you were appalled at you. You have come to a terrible and horrible end, and will be no more. Seems like even Satan is annihilated. That's for another topic. If you're interested in learning about conditional immortality, you can go to my playlist and look at Rethinking Hell, and you'll be able to kind of look at the last two videos on Rethinking Hell. You'll get a very, very long, exhaustive lecture on the final fate of the wicked, or at least a biblical perspective called conditional immortality that is in opposition to the biblical interpretation of eternal conscious torment. Conditional immortality is the final destruction. Now, this does not remove judgment or torment. It does not say that the wicked die and are never raised. They are raised during the physical resurrection, and there is torment, and they pay for everything that they've done. The books are balanced. If if you have any question, guys, please put it in cap lock so I don't skip over them. Yeah, if I'm not working, I can definitely do a stream for my brother's birthday, but we would need to have a lot of people come on and have a panel of people. She goes, Jason's videos wouldn't be the same without the sound of the Nicorette spray. Here, this is for you, Jackie. Hey, Diane, how are you? Jackie says, I was under the impression the millennial kingdom already reigned. We are in Satan's little season. Well, there's different views that Christians hold. There's like pre-millennial, there's premillennial dispensationalist, there's amillennial. So there are some people that think that there's no literal millennial kingdom where Jesus rules on earth. So if you guys are interested in looking at those different perspectives, yeah, you can go check out like what premillennial dispensationalist is. All millennial is there post millennial probably. I never really looked into too much about that, but like for my timeline, it's very, very simple. Is that we're headed towards the Great Tribulation, a time of great unrest, and then there's a rapture that I spoke to you guys about. I think that it's definitely has already happened by Revelation 13, 5, where it's well, no, not there. Sorry, by Revelation 14, where it says harvesting the earth and trampling the winepress. It seems pretty like in your face that there's two kinds of harvests. One that harvests, and that sounds like the rapture for those that are saved, and then the next step is another harvesting, but like thrown down on, like violently upon the earth, and this is the wrath of God with all like the trumpets, the plagues, the bowls, all that stuff happening. So for me, I am waiting for a literal millennial kingdom that is set up after Jesus comes, and this is church raptured. Now God's focusing on his promises to Israel so that he gives the land plot that he promised to Abraham. And then after Jesus comes, when they get a spirit of grace, supplication poured out on them, and they start crying out to Jesus, the one who comes in the name of the Lord. From that, Jesus does come in the clouds. Boom. He defeats the armies, and during that time, there's many people. There's the beast system that's being set up. There's people that are being saved. There's people that have taken the beast system. But once Jesus does come in his second coming, I believe that he's setting up literally a millennial kingdom here, and then after Satan, who gets defeated, the false prophet, and all of them, they're cast into the lake of fire. I believe personally that we shouldn't confuse the symbol with the reality. I think that the lake of fire is the second death. So the lake of fire is the symbol of God coming in flaming fire and vengeance. And then after... Just do you mind turning it down just a little bit? I'm almost done. You don't mind if I turn it down a bit? What is this? Like a cartoon and there's like foul language.
Well, it's like an anime, like kind of like a more place.
Anime. I think anime is satanic. I'm serious. All right. I feel like I've been cast out into the outer darkness. So, yeah, I don't think that we're in the Christian era because look at this place. So I don't believe in a replacement theology. I don't. I am leaning way more towards an early-ish rapture than a post-rapture, but I am preparing myself for persecution. I'm preparing myself to die if needed, but I don't think that Christians will be going through there. I think that there's Christians will be raptured, but obviously there's other people after the rapture of the church that are dying during the tribulation, and I believe possibly those make it into the millennial kingdom, but they might not have the immortalized bodies. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to weed the like the what do you call the intricacies of my eschatology. I'm open to hearing other things. My eschatology, my end time timeline is a work in progress. Okay. The channel Hidden Truth poses that this as he's showing massive, perfect built monstrosities. Oh, thanks, Mom, for my allowance. And that's it, guys. I think I've blabbed enough. And thanks, everyone, for showing up. And I'll see you guys around. God bless. Share and give thumbs ups if you can.